Hey guys, it's Daniel, licensed therapist. So the election's over and there are a lot of happy people out there, but there are a lot of very, very, very unhappy people out there. Which camp do you think the ladies of The View fall under? I think everyone, including myself, was dying to see how they were going to respond to the election results. Because needless to say, their candidate lost. And how you respond to losing says so much about you. So please allow your guy, the pro, to give you an analysis of these ladies. And if you like this kind of content, consider liking and subscribing. It'll make you a better person. Let's get into it.
So, how you feel?
I'll start.
Yeah, go ahead.
My takeaway is that the system works. We live in a democracy. People spoke. This is what people wanted. I vehemently disagree with the decision that Americans made, but I feel very, very hopeful that we have a democratic system in this country. We should value it. We should love it. We should protest if the situation arises that we need to protest, which I'm sure it will. And I've been through this before with Nixon. It's been very difficult, but boy, oh boy, do we have a country if we can keep it.
Yeah.
Hey, that was pretty good. I think that is the best that you can probably expect from Joy. I thought it was respectful, but I do think she was really making a concerted effort to be respectful. And I'm pretty positive that is not genuinely how she would react. But hey, that's all speculation. But hey, no demonstration of an unhinged emotional outburst or adult tantrum. Maybe not what I was expecting, but pretty good.
Well, echoing the sentiments, Joy, one of the first thing I wanted to say for anyone that needs an example of when the person you voted for does not win, you do not say the system must be broken or that it was rigged. You say, it is what it is, and you show up anyway. And I want to commend all those people that voted, because you sometimes hear people say, well, it didn't matter. No, it did matter. That was still your currency. That was still your power. And people turned out. Now, if you didn't vote, you really don't have a say in the conversation, so you can go ahead and sit down. But for the rest of you, and then a lot of what I think about is what I always tell my kids when things go on. You feel what you feel. Everyone has different emotions. Some people got what they wanted. A lot of people didn't. And you feel anything that comes up, and then you turn around and you say, let's look at the tapes. Let's see what we did. Let's see how we continue to fight for the people that we care about. And you take one step in front of the other. And so here we are today, and I still feel that optimistic because I feel arm in arm with so many people who agree with me. And I'm not going to stop marching.
Hey, once again, that was pretty fantastic. I know there's a tendency to demonize the other side, and that's something that she doesn't do, so I have to give her a lot of credit for that. And also what I like is she takes a personal responsibility angle. She says to validate her feelings, but then after that, you just learn from it. And that's the classic winner-learn mentality that I do all the time with my clients. This mentality is very useful and does a few different things that I think are very good. The first of all is you don't take a loss. What you do is you take a lesson, and that saves you from taking an ego hit, which I think is very helpful. Secondly, there's a sense of personal empowerment. Personal empowerment is one of those things that is so important to mental health. Thirdly, what it does is keep you focused on finding a solution, which I feel like is the best course of action after taking a loss. So, wow, so far no dumpster fire. Great job, ladies.
I like this pep talk, Coach Haynes. Listen, is it the outcome I wanted? No, but we live in a democracy. I have my vote.
Right.
Millions of people cast their votes did. And what's important to me is this. Tens of millions of Americans, our friends, our neighbors, our family members, voted for Donald Trump. We disagree with him. I know we all do at this table, but they are good, decent people who are patriots and love this country. And I can't speak to what drove them to the conclusion of being with him, but I think it is a moment for us to listen to each other, to hear each other, express what our concerns are. I've spent the last 4 years doing that, and also listen to people who are with him, because this is a country that there is truly more that unites us than divides us. I know it doesn't feel like that for many people in this moment, but we need to bring down the temperature, the name calling, the demonizing, let the other side, if they want to do that, they can do it. But I think it is a moment to listen to the voters. And this, I have to say, I've always thought he could win. I thought in the final stretch she might eke it out. I didn't expect it to be this resounding, and I think there are some lessons from it. I think we forget about rural America. I think the working class feels left behind. They feel like the powerful, the elite only care about them and their power. And he spoke to them. We may not have liked his words, but they turned out for him. I mean, the map was, it was beyond Reagan what we saw last night. And I think we need to start listening more about the concerns of everyday Americans who feel like this system is failing
When Reagan
them.
won, I remember the whole map was red.
Yeah.
It was pretty red last night.
Give credit where credit is due. She sure isn't happy about the election results, but she does make it clear to not demonize the other side. Politics is so polarizing, it can cause people who have great relationships to throw those relationships away. Very, very important relationships. I'm sure you guys have seen it. And there's a study done by Stanford, and they have found that the political identity is the strongest of all identities. It's even stronger than culture, race, ethnicity, and even stronger than religion. I mean, does that sound crazy to anyone else? I feel like tribalism has gone to such an unhealthy extent in this country. I remember when it was Democrat, Republican, it's not a big deal. You can still be friends. But now the divide has caused it to not be like that. And this lady is saying, hey, on the other side, there's good, decent people, patriots that love this country. So, again, nice job.
I don't know. I'm profoundly disturbed. I think if you look at the New York Times this morning, the headline was America makes a perilous choice. I think that in 2016, we didn't know what we would get from a Trump administration, but we know now. And we know now that he will have almost unfettered power. And so I worry, not about myself, actually. I don't worry about my station in life. I worry about the working class. I worry about my mother, a retired teacher. I worry about our elderly and their Social Security and their Medicare. I worry about my children's future, especially my daughter, who now has less rights than I have. And I remember my father telling me many, many years ago that I was the first person in his family to enjoy full civil rights. And now I have less civil rights than I had when he told me that. So again, I'm profoundly disturbed that the 14th Amendment of the Constitution did not prevent someone who participated in an insurrection from becoming president of the United States. I think that going forward, the convicted felon box on employment applications better be taken off, because if you can be the president of the United States, then you should not be prevented from employment in this country, because I remember applying for my jobs as a federal prosecutor, and there was a box for convicted felons.
Well,
and so that box better be taken off. And I think our healthcare system is now at risk. I think
no fluoride for anyone.
Yeah, economists have made clear that he's going to increase the debt by $7.75 trillion. I'm worried about mass deportation and internment camps, and I'm also worried about Elon Musk warning Americans to prepare for temporary hardship.
And here we go.
Now that's more like it. That's what we're expecting. Wow, this lady, she's worried about a whole bunch of things. She paints a pretty bleak picture. And I can't help but wonder, does she actually believe these things that she's saying? What she's saying is so over the top to one side, I can't believe that it's true. Hey, I'm no expert in politics, but this is no longer a political issue. It has become a psychological issue. If you're so one-sided about a particular person, there's probably something wrong with your perception of reality. She has a particular explanation in the narrative, and she is 100% all in on that narrative. And it's a very, very narrow narrative, which has to exclude a lot of other information, like the fact that we currently have a Democratic president, and before that, it was a Republican president, so we very well may have a Democratic president in 4 years. Sunny, things are fine. I googled her net worth, and Sunny's worth about $3 million, which is a considerable amount of money. Good for her. But just to put things in perspective, let's compare and contrast this with my mom, who grew up in communist China. You know what she got on her birthday every year? On her birthday, my mom got 2 hard-boiled eggs. You know what I eat every day? Eggs. I eat all the eggs I want. I can hard-boil them. I can scramble them. I can poach them. I could do whatever I want. So I just think Sunny's level of fear may be unfounded, and what she is saying is the explanation is just not sufficient to describe what is going on in the world. And I think we all know how she got here. It's living in her echo chamber. She just hears all day the things that confirm what she believes, and that is what is greatly responsible for the tribalism we see today. Let's keep going.
I'm surprised at the result, but I'm not surprised. As a woman of color, I was so hopeful that a mixed race woman married to a Jewish guy could be elected president of this country. And I think that it had nothing to do with policy. I think this was a referendum of cultural resentment in this country.
Well, I think it,
Okay, well, that is a possible explanation, but once again, the narrative or the explanation just can't possibly be true. And I say that because the very same people that elected President Trump elected a black president not that long ago. How do you take those two facts? It's cultural resentment that caused people to elect President Trump, but these people elected President Obama. What you have to do is you have to turn a blind eye to information in order to keep that narrative intact. It's not an uncommon thing, but it happens. Let me tell you a story. I was visiting my friend and his son was there. At the time, he was 7 years old. And somehow we got on the topic of ducks flying south. And he said, ducks can't fly. My teacher said ducks can't fly. And I said, oh yeah, ducks can fly. Why do you think they have wings? He said, nope, ducks can't fly. And well, we have smartphones. I pulled out my smartphone and I showed him a video of ducks flying. He said, nope, ducks can't fly. We just happened to be by a creek where there were ducks. And so we went over there. We threw some rocks into the creek and the ducks flew away. With his own eyes, he saw ducks flying. And you know what he said? Nope, ducks can't fly. The mental gymnastics and the cognitive dissonance that you have to feel in order to maintain a narrative in the face of clear evidence is immense. And that's what they have to do in order to maintain their narratives. And also, I detect a bit of victim mentality here. And the thing is, doesn't Sunny kind of look like Kamala? They're both two lovely looking ladies. So I think it's possible that she is projecting her own victimhood onto Kamala. And by doing so, she can say, hey, it's racism. And she has every right to do that, but on national TV.
I think it has to do with a lot of things, that being one of them. I'm obviously very disappointed. I'm very sad. I was at the Kamala Harris headquarters yesterday in Washington, and it was a very sad scene. The mood turned immediately, and I tell you, there's a quote I get a lot of inspiration from, and it's a quote that I read when I was reading about John F. Kennedy, and it says, "Whether I am on the winning or the losing side is not the point with me. It is being on the side where my sympathies lie that matters." And that to me brought me consolation and inspiration this morning, because I have no regrets.
Yep.
I worked hard as hell to elect the first Black Asian woman president. History slipped through our fingers again. I worked hard as hell for Donald Trump not to be president. But today, unlike Donald Trump and his followers, I acknowledge that he won. I hope for the best for our country, and I make a commitment to our LGBTQ, to our immigrants, to our elderly, to our young girls, to the women, that we will not stop fighting. We can be sad today. Today we can be sad. Tomorrow we stand up and we continue. We have every right as Americans, because we love this country, because this is the most exceptional country in the world, we have the right and the duty to speak up and denounce abuses of power, to be vigilant. And so I invite all Americans to do it. But we are doing what they didn't do. We are recognizing they won. Now let's see what happens when he is governing.
So one word I would use to describe this rant by Anna is egocentric. Have you noticed how many times she said I or me? I counted. If you don't count the mumbles, it was around 15 times. I worked hard. I read this quote. This is how I am processing it. I am on the correct side. Do you know what ego strength looks like? It's someone who can admit that they're wrong. It's someone who can be available for other people. And here Anna makes it all about herself. And that indicates to me that she sees the world through the lens of how things affect her. Do you know who are the most egocentric people on the planet? Children. So yes, I look at people who are very egocentric and I think, they're probably immature in their emotions and somewhat childish. But you know what? I do give her a lot of credit. She does not play the victim like Sunny. And she says things like, hey, we need to fight. But on the way out, she gives a little parting jab saying that we're doing what they weren't doing, which is, again, childish.
So, well, you look, we said to people, vote. We didn't tell people who to vote for.
Right.
We just said, go out.
Well,
Yes, but I did not.
Yeah, I did.
Because I wanted to make sure people exercise that right. Too many people that I know died trying to vote.
Yeah, right.
Okay? So we start with that. And think about this. She did this in 2 months.
Yeah,
No.
She did this in 2 months.
She left it all on the
You
field.
know,
Yes, she
look,
did.
she, you know,
a
everybody
closed campaign.
can always say, oh, she should have done this, she should have done this, She did what she did. She was everywhere. She talked to everybody. And people didn't come out. I don't know why, and it doesn't even matter. He's now the president. I'm still not going to say his name. That's not going to change.
Hey, little buddy, you did a great job. Actually, no, you didn't. This is what I consider coddling. Once again, it's what you do with children. And once again, it demonstrates a lack of ego strength. To simply take responsibility and admit uncomfortable, inconvenient facts takes ego strength. Let's face it, guys, Kamala did a poor job, and it's reflected in the polls. And trying to find some kind of moral victory, not giving credit to the victor, just makes the person look fragile. And that's why I love when people lose. You really see it come out. You can see whether people are losers or not. You can see whether they're victims or not. And on the way out, she says, I can't even say his name. Again, childish. What adult says that? It's a little disappointing, but hey, it's great content.
Yeah.
I have faith that some good, decent people are going to work for him. I've heard from some folks today. I think there's some reasons to be hopeful that people who believe in public service in the country are going to go in.
The thing that I wanted to finish up with is it's hard for some of us to hear that rhetoric
yeah.
after 50 years, after 70 years, to hear that rhetoric coming back, to hear things that came out of people's mouths that we all decided as a public group we weren't going to talk to each other that way.
Yeah.
So for me, when I hear that, I feel okay when I'm pissed at somebody who's talking down to somebody else. I'm all right with that. Mm-hmm. What I'm not all right with is trying to further wreck the country. So that's why everything that everyone is saying at the table really comes down to, listen, we're still here. People, when I got out of the car today, because nobody will let me drive, I saw mailmen, people with their kids. I saw people walking around, looking, drinking what is the coffee stuff from Starbucks. Yeah. I don't drink coffee, so I never remember. But I saw people living their lives, and that's what we have to do. And when things get to be so bright that we see them, we got to call them out.
Yes.
You have to call them out.
And no one's going to be storming the Capitol.
Yes, yes,
You know what gets me? The exit polls showed, according to our research department here at ABC News, the state of democracy was the top issue to voters overall. So that says that they voted for a guy who wanted to overthrow the election, who also said he would be a dictator on day one. And they also said that democracy was number one. So I'm concluding that maybe they don't believe him.
But I think
No,
it means different things. I
What?
think democracy means different things
It means a different
to different
thing.
people.
Well, when we were trying to overthrow a legitimate election and you say you're going to be a dictator, I don't know how you interpret that any other
As a
way,
democracy.
frankly. So I can only conclude that they don't believe he's going to do that. And I hope they're right. I hope that they are right.
American people, I am a dictator. And if you elect me, I am going to assume complete power of this country.
What? No.
I mean, come on, is that really the explanation here? Is there no other explanation or narrative that explains what's going on? Why would more than half the country vote for a self-proclaimed dictator? So I'm willing to admit that I am completely ignorant of this. I don't know what Donald Trump said about being a dictator. Maybe he did say it, but you know what? I'm willing to bet the house that this was just some quote that was taken out of context. I mean, he literally was just the president before President Biden. And he wasn't a dictator. He left office. I mean, have you guys ever seen a real dictator? They don't leave. So once again, a warping of the truth, the inability to accept information that is uncomfortable or incompatible with what you believe, and the crazy narrative gymnastics that you have to come up with that explains what happened, that is coherent with the way that you see things. But overall, was this the emotional train wreck that we were all expecting? No, it wasn't. I think the lovely ladies of The View, I actually think they did a pretty good job. They're biased and they don't hide it, but they were able to express their biases without losing their composure or having an emotional adult tantrum. Okay, but having said that, what I think really happened is the producers know all of this stuff and they're like, this is probably gonna be our highest rated show. We can't have a dumpster fire. They sat these ladies down and coached them and trained them on what to say. So these ladies were on their best behavior, but still, I see a lot of victimhood. I see a lot of false narratives, ignoring of important information. And boy, the gymnastics were impressive. Well, those are my thoughts on the ladies of The View and their response to Donald Trump getting elected. But what do you think? You disagree? Let's duke it out in the comments down there. And if you have anything you want me to react to, leave it in the comments down there. I thank you so much for watching. See you next time.